Shri Radha Krishnaya Namo Namaha. At first, I offer my humble prayers in the lotus feet of Lord Shri Radha Krishna. I also extend warm greetings and respect to all of you. Today, from the scripture Vivekcudamani, the crest jewel by Adi Shri Sankaracarya ji, we will be listening chapter 3rd. The holy words from the scripture are as follows. Without causing the objective universe to vanish and without knowing the truth of the self, how is one to achieve liberation by the mere utterance of the word Brahman? It would result merely in an effort of speech. Without killing one's enemies and possessing oneself of the splendor of the entire surrounding region, one cannot claim to be an emperor by merely saying, I am an emperor. As a treasure hidden underground requires, for its extraction, competent instruction, excavation, the removal of stones and other such things lying above it, and finally grasping, but never comes out by being merely called out by name. So the transparent truth of the self, which is hidden by Maya and its effects, is to be attained through the instructions of a knower of Brahman, followed by reflection, meditation, and so forth, but not through perverted arguments. Therefore, the wise should, as in the case of disease and the like, personally strive by all the means in their power to be free from the bondage of repeated births and deaths. The question that thou hast asked today is excellent, approved by those versed in the scriptures, apoplectic, pregnant with meaning, and fit to be known by the seekers after liberation. The first step to liberation is the extreme aversion to all perishable things. Then follow calmness, self-control, forbearance, and the utter relinquishment of all work enjoined in the scriptures. Then come hearing, reflection on that, and long, constant, unbroken meditation on the truth for the Muni. After that, the learned seeker attains the supreme nirvikalpa state and realizes the bliss of nirvana even in this life. Nirvikalp state here means the state of the mind in which there is no distinction between subject and object. All the mental activities are held in suspension and the aspirant is one with his Atman. It is a superconscious state beyond all relativity which can be felt by the fortunate seeker but cannot be described in words. The utmost that can be said of it is that it is inexpressible bliss and pure consciousness. Nirvana, which literally means blown out, is another name for this. Now I am going to tell thee fully about what thou oughtest to know, the discrimination between the self and the non-self. Listen to it, and I decide about it in thy mind. Composed of the 7 ingredients, namely marrow, bones, fat, flesh, blood, skin, and cuticle, and consisting of the following limbs and their part: legs, thighs, and chest, arms, and back, and the head. This body, reputed to be the abode of the delusion of I and mind, is designated by sages as the gross body. The sky, air, fire, water, and earth are subtle elements. Being united with parts of one another and becoming gross, form the gross body, and their subtle essence from sense objects, the group of 5 such as sound, which conduce to the happiness of the experiencer, the individual soul. Those fools who are tied to these sense objects by the stout cord of attachment, so very difficult to snap, come and depart up and down, carried amain by the powerful emissary of their past action. The deer, the elephant, the moth, the fish, and the black bee. These 5 have died being tied to one or other of the 5 senses, namely sound and so on, through their own attachment. What then is in store for a man who is attached to all these 5? Sense objects are even more virulent in their evil effects than the poison of the cobra. Poison kills one who takes it, but those others kill one who even looks at them through their eyes. He who is free from the terrible snare of the hankering after sense objects, so very difficult to get rid of, is alone fit for liberation, and none else, even though he be versed in all 6 sastras. The shark of hankering catches by the throat those seekers after liberation who have got only an apparent dispassion or vairagya and are trying to cross the ocean of samsara, and violently snatching them away drowns them halfway. He who has killed the shark known as sense objects with the sword of mature dispassion crosses the ocean of samsara free from all obstacles. Know that death quickly overtakes the stupid man who walks along the dreadful ways of sense pleasure, whereas one who walks in accordance with the instruction of a well-wishing and worthy gurus, as also with his own reasoning achieves his end. Know this to be true. If indeed thou hast a craving for liberation, shun sense objects from a good distance as thou wouldst do poison, and always cultivate carefully the nectar-like virtues of contentment, compassion, forgiveness, straightforwardness, calmness, and self-control. Whoever leaves aside what should always be attempted, namely emancipation from the bondage of ignorance without beginning, and passionately seeks to nourish this body, which is an object for others to enjoy, commits suicide thereby. Whoever seeks to realize the self by devoting himself to the nourishment of the body proceeds to cross a river by catching hold of a crocodile, mistaking it for a log. So, for a seeker after liberation, the infatuation over things like the body is a dire death. He who has thoroughly conquered this deserves a state of freedom. Conquer the dire death of infatuation over thy body, wife, children, and so on, conquering which the sages reach the supreme state of Vishnu. This cross body is to be deprecated, for it consists of the skin, flesh, blood, arteries and veins, fat, marrow and bones, and is full of other offensive things. The gross body is produced by one's past action out of the gross elements formed by the union of the subtle elements with each other, and is a medium of experience for the soul. That is its waking state in which it perceives gross objects. Identifying itself with this form, the individual soul, though separate, enjoys gross objects such as garlands and sandal paste by means of external organs. Hence, this body has its fullest play in the waking state. Know this gross body to be like a house to the householder, on which rests man's entire dealing with the external world. Birth, decay, and death are the various characteristics of the gross body, as also stoutness, childhood, and the like are its different conditions. It has got various restrictions regarding caste and orders of life. It is subject to various diseases and meets with different kinds of treatment, such as worship, insult, and high honors. The ears, skin, eyes, nose, and tongue are organs of knowledge, for they help us to cognize objects. The vocal organs, hands, legs, and so on are organs of action, owing to their tendency to work. Thus concludes chapter 3 from the scripture Vivekcudamani, the Crest Jewel by Adi Shri Sankaracarya ji. Thank you for listening. Shri Radha Krishnaya Namo Namaha.